All right. The first question I wanted to ask you was, what was the first thing that made you realize you were in India? And was there any special instance that stands out from your trip so far? And how was the experience?
I think the first thing that really stood out when I landed in India was the kind of outfits that people wear here when they're working, like in the US and in the UK, where I'm used to, they kind of wear jeans and a t-shirt or a shirt or something like that. But out here, they seem to have very extravagant outfits with a lot of gold on and like crazy hats and things like that. So I really noticed that as soon as I stepped off the plane. Really, I was seeing people in very, very wild outfits, which I thought were cool. And in terms of the experience out here, it's been great to meet so many Indian fans who are obsessive about WWE, and I've been to a couple of mall appearances in bars and things like that, and just to know that there's that many crazy fans out here in India who love WWE is a really cool experience. So that's really stood out to me.
All right, perfect. The second question was, some of the greatest wrestlers are from the United Kingdom, like one of your idols, Davey Boy Smith, Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington, and you also have William Regal. You're also multiple-time Intercontinental Champion. So how does it feel to have achieved so much in such a short period of time?
It feels great. The three people you just mentioned there are huge idols of mine, with Davey Boy Smith especially being one of the main reasons I probably became a wrestler. You know, when I was a kid, I used to watch all his matches and have posters of him on my wall, and I think both William Regal and Davey Boy Smith both had the Intercontinental Championship at some point in their career. So the fact that I've kind of followed in their footsteps has been great, and the only one thing we're really missing as English guys is the fact we've never had a WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So hopefully I'm the guy who's going to put a change to that, and I'll win that one day. So that's my aim anyway.
All right, we're looking forward to that. The third question was, you won the inaugural season of NXT, and the way Nexus debuted on Raw shook the entire wrestling industry. How did the idea come about, and when were you told about the Raw takeover?
That was an idea really that came from Vince McMahon himself. He's the creative genius behind 90% of what you see on WWE TV, and that was a vision he had. He wanted to get a load of new characters on TV as quick as he could, so he came up with that idea and basically gave us free reign to do whatever we wanted at the end of Raw when we debuted. So 8 of us just walked down to the ring and caused as much carnage as we could. We tore everything up. We smashed up the ring. We ripped the ropes down. We tore up all the mats and beat up the commentators and attacked anybody we could. And I think it was something, especially at that point, that had never been seen before. It was very shocking. And I think if you look at the reactions of the people in the crowd, they were genuinely disturbed by what they'd seen. So it's almost impossible in this day and age to get that kind of reaction because the audiences have seen everything. Wrestling is so exposed. We do about 8 or 9 hours of TV a week of brand new content, plus all the stuff that you can see online and on the WWE network and on DVDs. It's really hard to get something new, and it felt great that we were able to do that and give the crowd that kind of reaction.
Right. When did Vince McMahon tell you that this was going to happen, that this was going to actually take place?
He gave us permission to go ahead and do whatever we wanted, probably about 2 hours before the show went live. So we were just there that day. We didn't know what we were doing. I'd won NXT the week before, so I knew I was going to be doing something on the show, but I didn't quite know what, and it was all kept very top secret. The rest of the roster didn't know what was going on. In fact, a few of the guys on the roster felt like they should run down to the ring and attack us and stop us doing what we were doing because they didn't know that we were given permission to do it. They thought we were just doing whatever we wanted to do. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting day.
All right. The other thing regarding the whole angle was, how was it for you as a superstar to be involved with the biggest name in WWE and wrestling today, John Cena, right after debuting on the main roster?
That was a pretty intense period in my life to go from pretty much an unknown wrestler, which I had been for about 6 years at that point since I started wrestling, to suddenly get the opportunity to go out there and be a main event level character and be the guy that's opening up every Raw on the microphone and closing every Raw, wrestling all the top stars and beating up John Cena. It was a huge jump for me to go from that unknown that around the world I wasn't recognised to immediately being kind of one of the most important people on the show. So it was a pretty intense period in my life, but I'd say I loved every second of it. It was essentially what I'd always been aiming to do and what I'd sacrificed for 6 or 7 years of my career to get to that point. So to get that payoff, it felt great, and it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. So I didn't really feel the pressure too much. I was just enjoying it and enjoying the reactions we were getting, and I knew everything we were doing was working perfectly. So that felt good.
Right, and also regarding the way how the whole angle panned out, do you think Nexus could have been booked better towards the end of the feud?
I 100%. I think there was definitely a lot more life left in Nexus at the time. If I'd have been in charge, I wouldn't have ended it like it ended. But then again, I think we got great opportunities as young superstars to come into WWE, make a huge impact, and then 4 or 5 years down the line now, most of us are still around and most of us are still making a very good living in WWE and involved in great angles. So I don't really look at it in a negative way. I think we were very fortunate to get that opportunity, and I'm always going to be grateful for the fact that Nexus came along when it did. I wish it could have gone on a bit longer, but I think there's always that appetite left for people where they want to see some more of Nexus. They know it didn't end the way it should have ended, and I think there's always a potential in the future we could bring it back. So we'll just have to see how that goes.
That's pretty interesting. Also, the wrestling fans around the world have been behind you for quite a long time now. And just when it looked like you'd be pushed into the main event scene back in 2012, you unfortunately got injured. And recently, again in 2014, you also got injured again when you won the Intercontinental Championship. So how tough has it been to sit on the sidelines and watch the product?
It's always tough when you get injured. I think there's a bit of misinformation that's been put about my injury in 2012. I've heard that said regularly, that I was just about to be put into the main event scene. That's not actually correct. I mean, I don't know where that came from. If you look at my career, the point when I got injured in 2012, I really wasn't doing very much on the show. I was kind of in a very much a background role. So where this story came that I was about to be put into the main event, I don't think it's actually true. I think that's a bit of misinformation there. I think on my more recent run when I got injured, I think I had a better chance of jumping up into a main event because I was on a good run as Bad News Barrett, and I had the Intercontinental Championship. I was getting a lot of momentum at the time. But either way, regardless of my standing in the company at the time when I get injured, it's never a good thing to get injured. It always hurts. It's not a fun thing to do, to have to step away from your career and take a step back and watch the show go on without you, which is essentially what I'm doing at the moment. But with that being said, when you get injured, sometimes other opportunities come up. In 2012, I ended up getting involved in a WWE Studios movie, Dead Man Down, so that was a great experience. This time I've had the opportunity, for example, to come to India and meet the fans out here, which I wouldn't have had I not been injured, because I'd been out wrestling across the US probably. So I mean, there's positives to get injuries, but like I said, I want to get back as soon as I can and be wrestling in front of the WWE universe.
All right, perfect. Also, you've named people like John Cena and rest of the roster, but who is your favorite opponent to work with?
My favourite opponent to work with, I'd say there's two that I can't choose between, and it's probably because I've wrestled them more than anybody else, and that would be Kofi Kingston and Sheamus. They're two completely different wrestlers. Kofi's obviously a high-flying, technical kind of guy. Sheamus is very smash-mouth and likes to leave me with a lot of bruises and black eyes and things like that. So completely different kind of wrestlers. I always seem to have good chemistry with them. I don't think I've had a bad match with either of those two, despite the fact that we've wrestled hundreds of times. So I love wrestling those two. And then just before I got injured, actually, I had a couple of matches with Dolph Ziggler, who's a guy I've got a lot of respect for. And I've known Dolph for about 6 or 7 years, and up until probably 3 months ago, we'd never had a match before. So to get in with him, and we clicked instantly. He's another one that I'm hoping when I get back, I get to do some stuff with him, because he's currently got my Intercontinental Championship that I got stripped off. So fingers crossed when I get back, I can go straight for him and try and win that back and see what we can do together.
All right. Also talking about British superstars, there's one other person currently who is the NXT Heavyweight Champion, Adrian Neville. He has also earned high praises in the independent stint. So what are your thoughts about him?
I think Adrian Neville's incredible. I always seem to get on very well with the British guys in WWE, because obviously we've got a lot in common. We can talk about the kind of music that we grew up listening to and the kind of TV shows, and obviously football is massive in the UK, and I know Adrian Neville is a massive Newcastle United fan, so we talk a lot about football. But in terms of his abilities, he's incredible. I think he might be the greatest acrobat in the history of pro wrestling that I've ever seen anyway. He's got some amazing aerial abilities. I think he's done a great job in NXT in terms of adapting his abilities to more of a WWE style. I think they're ready to pull the trigger on him very soon. I think in the next few months you're going to see him on WWE TV, and I think he's going to be a massive success, which is great for the fans over in the UK as well as the rest of the world.
Right. Also with WWE, with the millions of fans in India, hasn't really stepped on the gas to tap the potential of the market yet. Will it change in the next few years? And how does a global conglomerate like WWE view India as a potential market?
I think any global company is going to view India as a massive market by virtue of the fact that there's 1.2 billion people here.
Right.
It's a massive market. There's a huge amount of money here, a huge amount of potential fans out here. You're right, we haven't really stepped on the gas enough in India, but I know there are plans for that to change. We realise how valuable this is from an economic point of view, and us as wrestlers too, when we get the opportunity to come to places like this and see how crazy the fans are and how much they love WWE and how much they want to absorb everything WWE has to offer. It makes us want to come out here and perform, and fingers crossed at some point in the future we get a tour coming up. I know they've got some ideas about hopefully getting us out here and having us wrestle at some point in the near future. So us in the locker room, we want to get out here. The guys in the boardroom, they want us to get out here too. So I think over the next few years we're going to grow and grow here in India.
All right, perfect. I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Can you tell us what the WWE has in store for India and its huge fan base?
I mean, we've got big plans in store. There's not too much we can announce at the moment, but I think, like I say, over the next couple of years, it's going to be massive. We're going to be here as much as we can. We've got some exciting stuff coming up in terms of the products that are going to be available for you, the stuff that's going to be coming up on TV, and like I say, hopefully some touring too. So I think WWE in India is going to go massive over the next few years.
Fantastic. We'll look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking time out.
No problem. Thank you.